So, as we talk about going through the process, and now we've gone through the and gotten licensed, right? Now we're looking for a broker, and maybe somebody starts that before, maybe they're starting it during classes, maybe after. What are some of the things that they should think about when they're determining what the best fit and best size and best is for them? What should they be thinking about? Because, all of us are different. We value different things. So just give us some ideas. And why don't we ask Al to start with that one?
All right. So, great question, because this is a common question that I'm sure Mike gets as well in class. How do I choose a broker, and what do I do here, and how do I, that's a nervous question that a lot of right folks have, especially if in your state that is a requirement for you to start business. Now, I always say the number one question I believe agents should ask a broker is, how many people are available to me when I have a question or an issue, right? Because as we talked about, real estate happens when it happens. It's not a 9 to 5, time frame where you clock in and clock out. You may be showing a house at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the evening. You're showing them a couple of houses, and then they call you at 8 or 8:30 and say, "Hey, we want to write an offer on the first house we saw tonight, or the second one." And here it is, 8:30 at night, and this is your first transaction or your second one, and you're like, "Oh boy." Right? I went through the classes, I went through the training, and I remember kind of what they said, but now I'm in it. And or no. Here's the other thing: no two transactions are exactly the same. Every transaction has its own little. It's like a fingerprint, right? One little change makes it different. And so, in that moment, when you need to reach out, is it reasonable to think that only one or two people will be available to you at 8:30 at night on a Thursday or Wednesday, right? Or Saturday morning or Sunday afternoon, or whatever time it is. So, how many people? You need 3 to 5 names and phone numbers of folks to call, right? Because all the pretty stuff, all the nice offices, all that bells and whistles and all that stuff is great, except when you need to pick up the phone and talk to somebody and nobody's answering the phone, right? And so, to me, in my opinion, that's the number one question: how many people are available to me, right? The number right here on the screen. What support do you offer your agents? That's a big thing. We all really do the same thing. No matter what state you're in, the same license is required, the same paperwork. You'll be sitting across the closing table from another agent at a whole different brokerage you've never heard of, but you're both getting paid on the same transaction. So how different are we? Not that different, except for personality, kind of the culture question you have here on number 2 on the slide. Is personality of the brokerage, more importantly, personality of the people you'll be working directly with, your mentor, trainer, manager, broker, whoever that is. Is there a good relationship there? Is this going to be something that I can, somebody I can learn from, someone who is going to, we're going to get along well, and this is going to go well. So all of that is important. The commission split, honestly, I would say, is not as important starting out as it is later. Because if you need mentoring and training, which you do, I always say this business is like driving a car, right? You learn the business in the business. And in most states, when you get your temporary driver's license, you have to have somebody in that passenger seat, right, coaching you through how to do and navigate, right, every situation you approach. And so, um, that commission split, you can't expect a high split if you want somebody to sit in that seat and really spend some time with you. Does that make sense? And so the split is not as important as it is, is not as important early on as it is later on, when you become a little more self-sufficient and, you can handle it on your own. So again, the support and the personality of who you're going to be working with. I think those are two critical questions that are right there on the PowerPoint.
That's great advice. Great things for us to think about as we're choosing a company and a broker. Mike, additional thoughts there?
Yeah, Al's giving you great things to think about. I would only add, no sense finding a broker if that's the model in your state that's 100 miles away. So find one in your neighborhood. You know, it's going to be a lot easier to get over to the office if it's down the street or over nearby, that type of thing. Secondly, if you want to do commercial, or you want to do industrial, or you want to do agricultural, there's no sense hooking up with a primarily residential brokerage because they don't practice much of that. Or conversely, you want to do residential and you hook up with the most prominent commercial broker in your market. Well, he probably or she probably doesn't do much residential. So interview those brokers. We tell students, they're not interviewing you, you're interviewing them. You're choosing the broker. They're not choosing you. There's probably not a broker in the United States wouldn't take every single one of you in for at least a little while. But you can pick the broker that's a good mix. So nearby proximity, I think, matters. Two, what do they practice? Are they primary residential agent? Well, then you want to do residential. That's maybe a good fit. Number three, and Al mentioned this, that commission split. I would be looking as a new agent to minimize monthly costs right
Correct.
away out
Correct.
the gate,
Yes.
because there's agents that pay $50 a month. There's agents that pay $5,000 a month. Well, there's no sense getting into a $5,000 a month plan when you're not going to sell any real estate for maybe a month or two or three. You're out $15,000. You haven't sold anything yet. Let's not worry so much about the split. 60% or 80% of zero is still zero right out the gate. So
That's right.
let's minimize the monthly costs and not worry so much about the split. And I'll tell you, I'll end with this thought. If you're a superstar, if I'm your broker and you're selling a bunch of real estate and you come in my office 6 months later and say, hey, I've sold a bunch of real estate. Can you make me a better deal? There's a good chance I'll make you a better deal at that time. So don't worry about your introductory deal. Worry about working into a better deal as you succeed in this business.